Good morning, good afternoon. Then I muted myself. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for the New England Region RRC Monday Mastermind. It is Monday, February 8th, and very excited to have everybody joining us today and looking forward to hearing from my colleague and good friend, Robin Gunderson. Robin Gunderson is an amazing realtor, as well as prior to becoming a realtor, is a licensed accredited stager, and she's worked in that space for a very long time. We actually met that way, and Robin has always had amazing skill in this area. But the thing I think that's really valuable, which I'm hoping she's going to really get into sharing today, is in today's market where there's a lot of temptation to kind of skip a lot of the frills we might have because everything is staying on the market for all of 3.5 minutes. How are we making decisions around that? As well as I know one of the specialties that Robin has is working with clients that in our market, particularly also that are elders and maybe, or in some ways, not as able to do maybe some of the pre-market work that we would normally recommend. So how to navigate around that whole kind of delicate piece of listing. So with that, I would love to turn it over to Robin, and we'll have plenty of time for some questions and answers. Talk a little bit about some stuff that's coming up for RRC, and hope you enjoyed today's presentation. Go, Robin.
Okay. It's a delight to be here and to be here with you, Lisa, and everybody else. Yes, Lisa and I've been partnered over 6 years ago now, I think, Lisa, and it's been a very fruitful partnership, I will say, for both of us. I also have a background in that I grew up in the construction and building business, and so doing project management and things like that. So this is another piece of this puzzle, if you will. So let me just jump right in and get started here. So I love this quote from Stephen Covey about beginning with the end in mind. And when we first go to a listing appointment to meet the sellers and to see the property, I am instantly beginning to think about, in the end, how do we want to bring this property to market? And maybe another way to ask that question is, what does success look like when we go live with that property? And
we're not seeing your screen yet, Robin. We're not seeing your screen yet.
Here I have it, and I'm like going right along here. Hold on.
Didn't want to interrupt, but
sorry. Okay,
no.
So Christine, do you want to coach me on what
So you should have share screen down the bottom, the green button.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And then pick the screen that you want to share. And then say share. Okay. Also on the bottom. Are the settings not allowing others to share screens? There you go. There we go.
Sorry.
Now we're
I had flipped over and didn't. Sorry. Okay, so here.
Beautiful, yeah.
Begin with the end in mind. And another way to ask that is, what does success look like? So I'm instantly thinking about, when we go to market, what do we want to be able to say about this property? How do we want to be able to present it? And when Lisa is that listing agent, then I'm really supporting her goals and the seller's goals around how they will position and present it to the property. So again, what will that look like? So now I'm trying to advance the slide, and it's not. There we go. Okay.
There you go.
So this is how Lisa and I always answer the question, what is in the best interest of our client? And for us, the answer is always a higher, faster, smoother sale. And I'm looking here at a beautiful photograph from Bourne, Mashney Island, and that indeed was a higher, faster, smoother sale for us. And so I'm going to go through the sort of strategies and things that we implemented here, and we do it for all of our properties, whether it's a $194,000 seasonal little 354 square foot condo out in Dennis, or if it's this beautiful property right on the water in Bourne. We use professional photography, floor plans, in every single property that we do, and with a goal of really meeting our sellers' expectations. So I wanted to talk about, how do we get to hire? I'll break these down, and so many things impact that. It can be, there are many drivers: smart pricing that Lisa always employs, and I do as well, a robust marketing plan, accessibility to the property, the negotiation skills that we all need to bring to the table, collaborating with those other agents and the relationships we have out there, the terms of the offers, all of those kinds of things. And as Lisa said earlier, it's tempting to cut corners and just get it to market with 2 or 3 photos. Here for our MLS, you just have to have a photo of the front door to go live. And then there's always that last sentence that more photos to follow. But again, we go back to, is that in the best interest of our client? And we're also buyer agents. And so, we're out there seeing many times, oh my goodness, if the seller and their realtor had taken a beat and attacked, maybe one deferred maintenance item or something, they could have possibly asked for more money. So we're thinking along those lines. So I try to also early on sort of pivot our sellers to think about the buyers, right? And so to pivot to what the buyer's goals and capacities are. What are today's buyers looking for in each of our markets? How can we highlight those kinds of features in the listing? And in the end, how can we create the widest range of a welcome for the widest range of buyers who are out there looking? You may be in a development where it's a certain age group and older, that will help you target a little bit more who you're trying to appeal to, but always the goal is to appeal to the widest range of buyers out there. And so I would begin by asking these kinds of questions and selling and then sharing with the seller the answers to these questions. These are what today's buyers, are looking for. And so as we bring the property to market, we need to be thinking about them. Advance here. So I have found, regardless of what part of the country or the demographics might be, buyers are looking for a soft place to land, right? And now more than ever, because they're spending more time in that soft place to land, that's an even more important concept. So they're looking for a really good mix of both gathering spaces and private quarters. We've always sort of looked for a nook for a home office, but now more than ever, we're looking for that workspace, home workspace, learning space, if you will, play space, so that mix of gathering spaces and private quarters. And through styling, we can create those kinds of environments. We find that today's buyers are looking for move-in ready, especially here in the second market arena that we're in. People want to get in and be ready for this season, especially this time of year and going into the spring market. It's a smaller group of people who are willing to take on projects and tasks. So the closer we can get a property to move in ready, not perfect, not that there isn't always room for people to make it their own, but a little bit closer to, as close as you can get in here and then make your mark. Versus, although we have gone to market with as-is properties, and there's still styling, believe it or not, involved in that situation. And buyers want to be able to see themselves in the home. And so in my training, I've learned that only 7% of people can see beyond what they're looking at. So we need to paint a picture for them of what's possible. And we need to prepare the space for them to be able to see themselves there. And that means calming spaces down and things like that. So our strategies that drive us are to highlight the property's distinctive features. There's always something special that we can find in a property that will set it apart from the others. We want it to be the blockbuster, if you will. Again, we want to appeal to that wide range of buyers, and we want to support the listing price. Lisa and I were just at a pre-listing appointment where while this was going to be well over $1 million once it hits the market, there are some finishes that don't support that. There are not, it's the woodwork is just clamshell woodwork trim. The doors are not wooden doors, they are plastic. So there's some things like that that we might ask the seller to consider upgrading, or if not if we don't tackle those sorts of things, there are other ways that we will be able to add value and shine a light on other really special things about the property. But one of the drivers is to support that list price. So here are some of the strategies. The first thing we want to do is create space for the next owner. So the way that you can create space for the next owner is to reduce the personal content that is out and about in the current property that belongs to the current seller. If we want people thinking about their family in the space, not wondering, oh, is that a picture from prom? And so we don't want them thinking about the seller. We want them thinking about themselves and how they would use the space. So you might see this often referred to as decluttering. I don't use that term. It feels judgmental to me, and I don't want to judge other people's possessions and collections and things as clutter. These things have meaning to people. And so the way that I approach that is encouraging people to go ahead and pack up the things that are most important to them. So if that's the collection of Hummels or of the Patriots winning gear and things like that, we encourage them to do that first because it's special, those family photographs and things like that. Go ahead and pack those up first, label them. Buyers, we have found, like seeing packed boxes that are in the cellar. Sometimes they're in the garage ready to go, because that indicates this is a motivated seller. It's not someone just testing the market. So reducing that personal content, it also is a privacy issue. So different things motivate different sellers. And so we do share with them the importance of and value of going ahead and packing that up first. I also have said a million times, the more packing, the more preparation, the more work you do now, the less there is to do later. Right? Because we're seeing these sales happen quickly. Lisa and I are dealing with a lot of cash buyers, so those are closing in 3 or 4 weeks. So really encouraging people now more than ever to go ahead and start packing. We roll up rugs always, because those buyers, again, need to be able to see what they're buying. They're buying the floors. And time and again, when there's a rug down, people think you're hiding something. Another way I talk to sellers about this is that when we're putting down roots in our home, we do have rugs. We're anchoring a space. We're making it cozy. We're gathering our furniture around that rug. This is the beginning of the process of peeling all of those layers away. And so one of those layers is to roll up the rugs. And believe it or not, sometimes that's a challenge for people to do. But once they see the space without it, once they see those gleaming hardwood floors captured in those photographs, they get it. So again, I minimize the number of rugs, and it also creates this sense of lightness, that things can sort of just float on out the door and my things can float in. So we're reversing that feeling of anchoring. We edit furniture and furnishings. Usually it's about 1/3 of the contents of the home. And so from each room. And this is where it's important to work with the seller on where do these items go? Are there pieces that you might want to pass on to a family member? Now's the time. Donate. Store. Here on Cape, we have a lot of places where you can get a month-to-month storage unit or donate. And so again, that's about one third of both the furniture and the furnishings. And so that includes art. We take a lot of things off the walls. Again, people are buying the walls. They're buying the windows. They're buying the floors. They're buying the countertops. So we want those things to shine. And most likely they're not buying the furniture. And again, we want them to be thinking about theirs, not our seller's furniture. So another strategy is to increase the light as much as we can. So that's about removing window treatments, increasing wattage. So I bring in light bulbs and try to increase the wattage in lamps that are around. If they're, and so far these things that I'm saying are really just about elbow, it's about work. So far we haven't spent any money. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about spending some money. Replacing dated light fixtures. It's a fairly simple thing and affordable thing to do. And this, quite often I will pick out fixtures at Home Depot, right? That are less than $50 and send the link to the seller. They'll get them. They have an electrician. If they don't, we offer up an electrician. So you all may already have partnerships with different providers that you use. In the ideal situation there is that they act quickly, because we are always, all of this that we're doing, we're trying to do very quickly. And so I know Lisa and I have some real key providers here on Cape who are very, very responsive to our clients, and they're fairly priced. And we reciprocate by taking care, we take care of each other's clients. There's, no money changing hands or anything. We really take care of each other's clients and are as responsive as we can be, and back in the other direction as well. But you'd be amazed by just upping the wattage from a 40 watt to a 60, what it can do for a room. Replacing those dated light fixtures, and that can happen pretty quickly. And then I also have a small amount of inventory, and so I bring in lamps that are on trend. Sometimes I just bring in shades just to update a light fixture that's already there. And then something that would involve more money would be to lighten the woodwork. And that is amazing, to go from brown, orange, or a darker woodwork, to go through and lighten that all up with white. Can have a really big impact. And again, this is where you're thinking about what is that price point that we're trying to support, and what's expected at that price point. So at some price points, the brown trim would be fine. That's not something to be addressed. And there are other ways to lighten the room beyond that. But I wanted to include that here because we do it quite often, especially here on Cape. And again, this is about knowing your market and knowing what your buyers are looking for. Our buyers are looking for a home that doesn't feel like their house in Sudbury, which is where I moved from. They really wanted to have a Cape feel to it. And I'm not talking about a whole bunch of starfish and things, but just they wanted to have a different feel if it's a second home, or if they're making this their year-round home, this is the time to have that Cape feel. We're always working to calm interiors. And again, that's a way that we can help those buyers see their family, or them as an individual or as a couple in that home, if the spaces are calmer. So we always recommend white bedding and towels. And some of our sellers already have those things, or they will go buy white bedding and white towels that they can then bring out for showings and open houses and tuck back away during the week and use their regular linens and things. Or I do bring in soft goods, very careful around that in terms of laundering. I don't use everything comes out of circulation for 2 weeks before it ever goes back in and is all cleaned. But many times I'll just use the coverlet that they have and put a big white fluffy comforter on the end of the bed. And it's amazing what that can do to just lighten and brighten a space. I use slip covers and pillow covers, and those are things to sort of, if you wanted to invest in those, they're not expensive. And if you can throw a white or a caramel colored slip cover over a floral sofa for that photo shoot, it can go a long way. Same thing with pillow covers. And again, you might even consider recommending some on trend wall paint. And we have some fabulous painters that get in and get out. And we use some high paint that we can usually do in one coat. And so that makes that go very quickly, and it keeps the cost down and keeps us moving along in terms of the calendar. So creating a focal point for each room is really important. Something to guide the camera and to guide the eye. And so what I recommend here is to stand at the doorway to each room and just, where does your eye naturally go? And if it's to a TV screen, that's not usually where we want it to go. Where do we want it to go? And most of the time, that would be a fireplace, a lovely window, or even if it's just an ordinary window, I usually like the eye to go all the way through the room so that they're seeing the expanse of the room. And so you'll see a lot of our camera shots are into a corner to a bank of windows. In bedrooms, I really want to show, I want to show the floor, the ceiling. There may be a ceiling fan there. I want to show the windows in the closet. That's what people want to know about a bedroom. And I usually only do one photograph of each bedroom, except for the main bedroom. The main bedroom, I'll do 2 or 3. While we usually receive 72 to 74 photographs from our photographers, I winnow that down to 30 to 32 because people don't tend to stay engaged that long. They really need to be engaged in the first couple of sentences of the description and the first few photos. So, and I order those in the order that we'd be walking through the house, so that it's just as though they're walking in the front door. What do they see first? Then do I take them to the dining room, then the kitchen, then the family room? However the flow of that house is, we want that to be online as well. As we all know, the first walkthrough is online, and we want it to be powerful enough, as always, for them to pick up the phone and call us. So I consider sight lines as well. So rooms, if I can see one room from another, that's another reason for calming things down and sort of neutralizing color and concept so that it feels connected and not jumpy. Again, professional photography and floor plans really help that buyer picture themselves there. The floor plans, we find people will start placing their own furniture. So that's something that we always provide as well. What smooths out the sale? Well, it's really anticipating, what's next in terms of, we do know an inspection will be coming. So think about that when you're talking to your sellers. We look at curb appeal because people will drive by, as we know, and we want them to have a good feeling when they're driving by. I just put in here pets and pests. If we can, have you ever heard this saying, if I can smell it, I can't sell it? Those are things that have to be addressed. And we want to find out from our seller if do they have a pest control policy already in place, because that speaks to care that's been ongoing. And some pest work is preventative. There's never been an infestation of termites. But we can see that that an installation has been made around the perimeter of the house. So we want to get in front of that and speak to it. If there's deferred maintenance, we really encourage our sellers to do, to try to catch up on that. And it can be as simple as a single coat of paint on the trim will have a huge impact. But if we find that here in terms of, because it is a second home market, that maybe people haven't been to their second home for a while. And so there's been some deferred maintenance. And if we can go ahead and bring that up to date, that will impact the higher, the faster and smoother sale, definitely. If there's something that our sellers simply cannot tackle, because we do want to think about their goals and capacity as well, what we do is get an estimate. So let's say it's a roof, and I never recommended somebody put a roof on, but if we did once, Lisa, we did once on a little house that had 3 different roofs on it. But what we do is get an estimate, and then we have that in hand, and if we have a really interested buyer, we can show that to them so that they don't deduct 2 or 3 times that amount, right, when they come in. I'm seeing this trend towards pre-inspections. I don't know if anybody already does that, where people are going ahead and doing a pre-inspection. And even I know of a selling agent who calls it a pre-certified home, that they've done the pre-inspection, they've corrected everything that needed to be done, and had an inspection saying that everything is in great order. So we may be trending towards that even more. But again, consider that seller's goals and their capacity as you put together that market ready plan for them. And I also tend to rate things as A, B's, or C's in terms of importance and impact that I think that they will have on that faster, higher, smoother sale. And I always present it as a draft, or as a proposal, or as recommendations, because we really are in partnership with our sellers. And Sometimes they'll say, I can do Robin, I can do all the A's, Robin, but only one of the B's. Or we just work through it as much as we can. And then our job is to work with what's left. And so I always do begin with what the seller already has and then supplement with my inventory. So I wanted to take you through a property so that you could see an end-to-end product, if you will, and I can explain some of the strategies that we used here.
Unfortunately, Robin, we only have a couple of more minutes.
Okay.
By the way, guys, we are doing a webinar on the 25th of May that's going to go a lot more into detail on some of this and do some case studies. But yeah, we just in a couple more minutes, Robin, just want to let you know we're
Okay.
getting onto the witching hour.
I'll go through these really quickly, but this is a beautiful home. Everything, it's a Pottery Barn home. It started out that way. So that made it easier. But even though there was too much of it and there were bright red pillows everywhere. We got rid of the bright red pillows. We reoriented the room and to open it up and create more space. Rolled up the rug, as you can see, there's no rug here. Here's that sight line so that you can see how the rooms are connected. The sofa that is to the left used to be right behind the bar stools. So you can see how it cut this space in half. And the goal here was to open it up and expand it. And then just cleared out that personal, any personal content, as you can see. And so what is the buyer buying? Those appliances, those beautiful countertop, the floors, the windows, the cabinetry. So I'll just breeze through these really quickly. So you can see the work we did here. Again, they brought in all white bedding here. That was not the case before. I removed a lot of art, changed around lamps and things here as well. And it's always fun to do something with whimsical and fun, which is why there's a steer in the bathroom. These two bedrooms are side by side and they had identical bedding on them. And so you needed to help people distinguish between bedrooms with your bedding. That's very helpful. So you can see, again, we were clearing spaces, widening spaces out, really calming them down. I just wanted you to see that really quickly. Are there any questions in the couple of minutes we have left?
Yeah. Oh my God, Robin, thank you so much. This is so fascinating. And it's really fun when we look at very specific properties and sort of go through like a case study, which we will definitely be doing on the 25th. But any questions? You want to put them in the chat? If there's any questions for Robin, you can want to stop sharing the screen and
I'll stop.
we can go back to the group. People had a really hard time getting on again. We just switched from registration to not registration and had that. So I think I got 4 or 5 texts. I know Christine did. Nora was saying people were calling me since I just called in the middle of it. So we did have some folks that were definitely trying to get on, Robin. I think this is definitely a topic that people are quite interested in. But we had a little bit of a tough time. I don't, again, we're switching so that there is not the registration, which I guess created a whole bunch of drama last week. And I did have the email link in the email. Dawn Hadley just said she used the one in the email, and that was not correct, which I did have the VA correct, but we'll make sure that that's correct for next week as well.
Okay. So in wrapping up, Lisa, since some folks jumped on late,
Sure.
I'll just say that in styling and staging for those, I'm always thinking about that photography, but also that when people are in person, that it has the same feel. So I don't use virtual staging. We don't try to trick the eye. We just are as inviting as we can possibly be. And the number one way to be inviting is to calm spaces down and to open them up. So think about when someone's coming through the home, there's usually 2, 3, 4 people walking through at a time. So for our sellers, and part of our job is to sell our sellers on these concepts and partnering with them to really get the work done. And I roll up my sleeves and I do it alongside them. Or if you partner with a stager, sometimes the agent will provide that consult at the beginning. But I tried to give you some things today that I feel like you probably working alongside your seller could help to implement, and just You might even think about bringing some boxes over to get them started. I just did that with a client as well. So again, just trying to open up space, lighten up space, and welcome that next buyer in. I hope that's helpful.
Yes, it really is. Cheryl just had a question. Do you have an outline that you use to share with the client, as in a room to room?
I do. So I put together a market ready plan at the end. So I first have a pre-listing intake form, if you will. And Lisa, maybe we can get this out to people. If you can you want to email Lisa or myself, it's Lisa at Lisa Sells Cape Cod, or it's
Oh, Robin.
Robin at
Yeah,
Lisa
yeah.
Sells Cape Cod. So I have an intake form that just asks all the kinds of questions about the property. And then I put together a plan. It can be 10 or 15 things for people to do. I rank them with A, B's, and C's, what to do, sort of who's responsible, and then a status if it's ongoing, completed. And that's a document that we work from to keep us all going. With our target dates, again, we begin with the end in mind. At the very top are what the target dates are for that photo shoot and for going live.
Yeah, and we tell them, we can do it in 3 days or 3 months. We really need to follow their lead, as I'm sure everyone sort of does in that way. Again, reach out to Robin, or I, of course, but Robin is really our specialist in this area. If you have any additional questions, and I just want to thank you so much, Robin. Great topic. We are doing webinars, as I said, for RRC, and I think the date currently is May 25th. So that will be really exciting to look forward to. But I also want to mention, I put a link in the chat. We've got an amazing class coming up on February 25th with Chris Bird. So consider, whatever I think members are paying 99 and non-members I think are 149. I'm not quite sure of the pricing. I think that's it though. You will make back 10 times, many times what you invest in that particular class. As you know, if you know Chris Bird at all, you'll have a bunch of laughs, you'll get a lot smarter, and you'll really feel like you are prepared for this year's tax season, but also to talk to your buyers and sellers about what's going on, with the new tax act, and it impacts all of us. So it's great information, great thing. The link is there, and thank everybody so much for attending this week. Hey, Don. And next week we'll have a member. Next week is Mastermind Monday is our member focus. So we look forward to.
No, Monday's a holiday, so we'll skip next Monday. It's President's
So as
Day, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. So then the fourth Monday this month will be our membership focus. So thanks again, guys. Have a great week. Look forward to the next time we see you. Nice to see you, Don.